Please don't forget subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to get notified of new daily videos.
My Grandma Eleanor was a pillar of our family, a woman who had meticulously built a substantial nest egg from her decades-long career as a financial planner. Her one wish, as she entered her late 80s, was to peacefully live out her days in her cherished coastal home, surrounded by her memories. She had the means for it, a robust trust fund, and had appointed my dad, William, my uncle Frederick, and my Aunt Regina as its trustees. Dad William had moved several states away for work, and Uncle Frederick lived across the country, leaving Aunt Regina, who lived a mere few miles from Grandma, as the primary point of contact for day-to-day management. At first, things seemed fine, but gradually, on my visits, I started noticing things. The house was not always as tidy as it should be, the garden neglected, and sometimes Grandma would complain about utilities being cut off or a lack of proper care personnel. She, a woman who loved gourmet food, was often eating simple, sometimes expired, microwave meals. Regina, meanwhile, was living in luxury, always bragging about new renovations to her large home or lavish vacations. When Grandma Eleanor passed away peacefully in her sleep, exactly as she wished, it was a bittersweet moment. But the bitterness quickly turned to disgust. At the first meeting with the probate lawyer, Aunt Regina immediately tried to push for a quick settlement, urging everyone to sign off and just divide a seemingly smaller pool of assets. My dad, bless his cautious heart, sensed something was off. He refused to sign, insisting on a full forensic audit of the trust, going back 5 years. Regina exploded, calling him every name under the sun, but 2 trustees requesting it meant it had to happen. That is when I got involved. My dad knew I had a knack for detail, so he asked me to pore over the audit report when it arrived a few months later. What I found was a sickening betrayal. For 4 years, Regina had systematically bled Grandma's trust dry. There were monthly charges of $1,500 to $2,500 for premium organic food deliveries Grandma never received, over $3,000 a month for wellness memberships and personal assistant fees. Thousands for fake, home accessibility modifications, paid directly to Uncle Ronald's struggling event planning and catering business, which mysteriously never materialized in Grandma's house. There were 2 separate instances of 5-figure sums spent on medical retreats to exclusive European spas, disguised as necessary therapeutic care, which Regina openly bragged about attending. Even more galling were the business development loans, totaling nearly $500,000 given to Ronald's company, with no discernible equity or repayment plan. Expensive antique jewelry and a small art collection Grandma cherished had been sold for market value through a shady dealer, the proceeds vanishing. And then there were the familial indignities. Regina had been funneling monthly stipends of $2,000 to estranged Aunt Bridget and her deadbeat adult son, all while cutting off the small, symbolic $50 checks Grandma sent us grandkids, and ensuring my siblings' pre-planned lump sum inheritances at milestone birthdays were never paid out, unlike her own children's. It was not just the money, it was the audacious disrespect for Grandma's wishes, her comfort, and her legacy. My blood ran cold with righteous fury. This was not just civil malfeasance, it was criminal elder abuse and blatant fraud. I knew what I had to do. At the next probate meeting, armed with my detailed findings, the probate lawyer's face grew progressively grim as I laid out Regina's scheme. Regina herself went from indignant to utterly terrified. The civil settlement was swift and brutal for her. She was stripped of any inheritance, Aunt Bridget's stipends were clawed back, and the remaining legitimate beneficiaries, including me and my siblings, received our rightful portions after the house sold for its true value. But that was not enough. This was personal. Regina thought she could just lose her inheritance and walk away. She was wrong. I meticulously compiled every piece of evidence: bank statements, forged invoices, canceled checks, sworn affidavits, and my detailed summary. I made multiple copies, had them notarized, and then, after extensive research, I sent the entire package with a detailed cover letter to the Federal Financial Crimes Unit of the Department of Justice, specifically targeting elder exploitation. The wheels of justice grind slowly, but they grind exceedingly fine. For nearly 2 years, I heard nothing. Then, a call. An agent requested an in-person meeting. I walked into their office, gave a sworn statement, and handed over even more supporting documentation. The agent confirmed they had been building a case, and my detailed submission had provided the crucial missing links. What followed was devastating for Regina. The federal investigation uncovered not just the millions she siphoned from Grandma's trust, but also a massive amount of undeclared income from Ronald's shady business dealings, money laundering, wire fraud, and significant tax evasion. The consequences were swift and total. Regina lost her prestigious high school administrator job amidst a public scandal. Her and Ronald's lavish home, their investment properties, all their vehicles, everything was seized and sold off to cover restitution, fines, and penalties that amounted to millions. Ronald's catering business, already teetering, collapsed under the scrutiny. They were left with nothing. I heard through the family grapevine that they were forced to sell everything, becoming pariahs in their community. They disappeared, eventually resurfacing in a desolate, forgotten town hundreds of miles inland, living on what little they could salvage after all the liens and legal fees. They were too old to start over, too disgraced to ever regain their former status. I never saw Regina again, but the satisfaction I felt knowing she lost everything because of her greed, because she thought she could steal from my grandma and get away with it, was absolute. The agency even sent me a small monetary reward for my assistance, a paltry sum compared to what they recovered, but a symbolic validation of the justice served. She robbed my grandma of her peace and dignity, and in return, I watched her entire life crumble. Some debts are not just paid in money, but in ruin.
If you enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up button to like it. And please do subscribe to support the channel.